So this actually I had prepared, but not necessarily will go into detail. So as we go along with the training, I will understand from you what is. I mean, although you have shared your expectations, so we'll try to focus from that aspect. This is just a high level topics which I have just given, because I had been working with this JD Edwards as an ERP and then Oracle Field Service Cloud integration between both these systems. But recently I'm also working on a web app. Like, we are also developing an help desk app, and not purely dependent on this JD Edwards. So that same thing which we do in JD Edwards, it is we are actually doing in an help desk app also, but the performance is, I would say, 5 times 7 times better. And but the activities are same. So in terms of we using JD Edwards as an ERP or Fusion Cloud or help desk app, the concept remains the same. You will still have to integrate with the Oracle Field Service Cloud with respect to inbound and outbound. The integrations API, all those integrations have to be there. So just this was a high level, just to make sure that you understand the flow in terms of like, if you have an ERP system, what is that introduction of that ERP system, the purpose and scope, what we do, like we create service calls, we create
Mhm.
work orders, we send that work order to OFSC, all that aspects. And then what is exactly a work order, why we do we need a work order. From OFSC terminology, we call it as an activity. And then there's a service request, how we enter a service request, how it is tracked in JD. Now there are, in work order management, there are different how we assign a resources and update that work order status. There's a life cycle of that work order, how it flows from a creation to a closure state. And in terms of, like, when we are managing the calls in OFSC, then there is in the background there is a warranty and a service contract which drives your service level agreement, which also drives whether that call or service work order has to be billable or non-billable. So all these are basically linked. So if you call it as a service call or a case management in JD Edwards terminology, or a work order or an activity in OFSC, all are tightly coupled, and then the warranty, service contracts, everything is covered. Now, what is
One
also
sec.
tight? Yeah, just
You're talking about this JDE Enterprise. Is that JD Edwards? See, I'm
yeah, that,
familiar to
yeah,
this.
that is JD Edwards.
What is
Yeah,
that
wherever,
framework?
I call it JD, so this is basically Oracle JD Edwards. This one.
Uh, for my understanding, what is that? Is that a, backend framework or something?
No, no, it is not. It is actually a full-blown ERP in itself. Like, you have
Okay.
Fusion Cloud ERP, so it's a full-blown. Fusion Cloud is the latest version. JD Edwards is the older version from Oracle, but it is very tightly coupled. It's a full-blown ERP in itself. What it does not have is this field service capability, where you can dispatch a call, dispatch a field service technician, monitor the field technicians capacity, availability. All those things are not there in JD Edwards. So that's why, and even in Fusion Service Cloud, it is not there. That's why Oracle came up with this Field Service Cloud, which is quite flexible, and you can integrate with any ERP, whether it is JD Edwards, Fusion Cloud, or the Help Desk app. In our case, which we are integrating, so it helps that way. So this, I mean, these are basically our, I would say, more of a JD Edwards, but everything remains the same, because JD Edwards is an ERP, Fusion Cloud is an ERP. So in Fusion Cloud also, you have these things. You create a service call, you create a service work order, dispatch it to Field Service Cloud. You have all those resources. You have the life cycle of the activity or the service work order. You do have the service contracts. So it is. I mean, I understand you might be only trying to focus on Field Service Cloud, the capabilities of Field Service Cloud, how I can integrate, what are the different APIs which can be used, but it cannot work standalone. The Field Service Cloud cannot work standalone. You need some other systems to integrate with, and that system has to be and can be an ERP system or whatever.
Right. Yeah, it can be an asset management system or customer
Asset
facing.
management
Can
system.
be, yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. For example, if like, asset management is a broader terminology, but when you drill down that asset management, every I mean, within that asset management process or asset management module or asset management software, these are all the integral parts of it. Like there has to be an equipment install base, there
Mhm.
has to be a asset master, there has to be a contract linked to it. Everything is tightly coupled. I mean, the terminology might change with respect to JD Edwards or Fusion Cloud or SAP system, but uh, the concept remains the same.
So
And
I
in
think,
your
yeah, are you familiar with the
yeah, man.
VAX? I think VAX is the asset management solution of Oracle. You familiar with that?
Wax, not exactly, but let me just
Okay.
quickly check. That is Oracle. What is that spelling? WAX or that?
I just heard. Let me just. But let's carry on with this. I'll let's pass this
Let me
part
just.
aside. I heard that.
No, 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 no. I will be able to tell you because from my experience perspective, I mean, it's all the same. The terminology might differ. So what Oracle Asset Management talks about is this EAM or WAM, they call it,
Yeah,
right?
EAM WAM, right? Yeah.
WAM, WAM, WAM. So that is basically work and asset management. So it is also for planning, tracking, and executing maintenance procedures for both physical assets and inventory items. Then there are condition-based maintenance. Then there are integration with the work order modules, preventive maintenance, scheduling, asset tracking, budget forecasting. Yeah, so the asset management, basically Oracle Asset Management is talks about not only the equipment, because when you talk from a service line of business, like the companies who are doing servicing, where it's an air conditioning company or whether it's an ATM machine company who fills
Mhm.
the cash in the ATM machine or do the servicing of those ATM machines, they, I mean, from servicing point of view, we need a equipment master or install base. Asset is a broad terminology. Like your office furniture can also be an asset, but not necessarily we are doing servicing as an organization. We are not servicing a chair, right? An office chair, we are not doing any servicing or a preventive maintenance. So asset can be classified into different categories. Like one is that office furnitures, then there is an actual an equipment or a machine for which we need to do preventive maintenance services, and then if there is a breakdown, corrective maintenance, then we need to fix the issue in that machine. So
Right.
asset life cycle management not only talks about the asset, it also talks about the equipments. And whenever there's an asset, there's a financial angle to it, then there's a budget, then there's a budgeting of those assets, then there's a depreciation. You need to run those depreciation reports to see when the equipment was the asset was installed, what is the depreciation cost, and all those tracking. Cost tracking is also there. Now if you want, like for example, your question, if you are working on this asset management or this WAP, which is that Oracle Utilities Work and Asset Management, are you really looking to integrate with Oracle Field Service Cloud? That would be a first question.
Correct. Yeah. It's Oracle Utilities Work and Asset Management WAM. Right. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll be integrating field service with WAM for work order management, planning works, etc. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Let me just check. Because what I am talking about is might be similar. Few things can
Correct. Yeah.
be different. Few things, but at least you will get a high level overview of what I am talking about, and then in terms of WAM, you can see how you can integrate. Because what I could see that key aspect from WAM to OFSC integration is basically about the data synchronization. Then it also uses that OIC. In our case, like from JD Edwards to Field Service Cloud, we had used this middleware, that Oracle middleware, Oracle. So SOA as a middleware. Now, in since SOA is an older technology, now we have this OIC. So now, if you want to integrate this WAM to an OFSC, then you can use this OIC.
Okay.
that OIC basically acts as a middleware in all of our recent projects. Now we are migrating from Oracle SOA to Oracle OIC. So OIC is more in kind of more flexible, and it's basically a cloud. SOA was not cloud, so OIC in terms of cloud it helps. So that is basically, so you need to have focus on this data synchronization between WAM and OFSC. Then there's an activity management which I was talking about, like how typical this activity you would need to integrate from WAM asset management to OFSC, how this activity management would work. And then there's an inventory management. So if you see what I'm talking about in terms of WAM, you will try to correlate it. There's an activity management here, which we called as a work order. Then now I'm talking about in inventory management, which you will see here, this part and inventory. So the concepts remain the same. Technology, I mean, the terminology might change. So you would definitely need, whether you are integrating WAM to an OFSC, the inventory management will still be there. Like in terms of when we are integrating an ERP to an OFSC module, like there are field service engineers which have to be dispatched at the customer site, then they would need some kind of an inventory or spare parts in their WAN location, so that they can use those spare parts for servicing those machines. So that's where this inventory information comes into the picture. And then there's a user management, user access setting. User management basically, in whether it's a JD Edwards or field service cloud, there's a user management. Then there's a user management in field service cloud also. So that is quite common, like what are the different user types and access settings which have to be there. And then there are, what I could see more is, you will have to use key components as Oracle Integration Cloud, which is their OIC. Then there are some Oracle utilities, WACS, and then WACS activity process, and then plugins. So whatever standard, I mean, when we designed this JD Edwards to OFSC, most of those standard plugins were not there. But now what I have understood, OFSC with the recent versions, and when it is integrated with Fusion Cloud or even with this WAM, it will have the all the standard plugins are there. And how why we need those plugins is, for example, just to give you a perspective, like what we have designed. Let me see. So, for example, if you want to have a field service engineer to do a part request, part order, basically when the part is not there in his van location, and he need to basically raise a request for part. So what we want to do here is, via this OFSC plugin, we want to create directly a sales and a purchase order for fulfillment of that part, spare parts. So this part order, there's a plugin there. Then, for example, since there's an inventory involved, you need to do a cycle count entry. So the cycle count, there's a plugin there available from OFSC. Then for like when he has ordered a spare part, then he need to receive that part in his van location. For receiving parts, there is a plugin there. So these are basically use case scenarios where you need those plugins. In our case, it's all custom plugins, because standard Oracle plugins were not there when we actually designed 2018 onwards,
So,
but now it is all there.
so by plugin, do you mean the integration between two systems, like the inbound and outbound
Yes.
communication?
Yes, 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 yes. So
Okay.
all these, what I am talking about is, all these are features or functionality in Field Service Cloud, and using those plugins, and depending on which technology you are using those plugins, you can perform these functions. Like for example, field service, one field service engineer to another field service engineer, you can actually do a inventory transfer. Then there's concept called good and bad part return. For example, he's that machine, he's replacing the old machine with a new machine, so the old
Mm.
machine becomes a bad part. And basically, if he is using a part which is a bad there, and you need to replace that bad part with a good part, so those kind of functionalities. Then there are checking of that serial number. So all these are APIs, and there's a directly on the Oracle website, there's a list of APIs which you can use. Most of the people suffer in this part order process, because this part order, it looks like it is very simple. It directly connects to your uh, I would say sales order management in Fusion Cloud, and you can easily, using that plugin, you can easily create a sales order, purchase order. There are some configuration, there are some challenges there, but it still works. So these are in terms of APIs which I wanted to tell you. And like if I go ahead, like that billing and costing, so whether it is an Fusion Cloud, JD Edwards, or WAM in your case, these concepts would remain same. You'd still be needing, for example, if it is an asset lifecycle management and you need to track the asset, you need to track the cost of the asset, you need to track the service of those assets or equipments. There is a cost involved in the background. In some cases, if it is covered under contract, you will not bill the customer. But in some cases, when the contracts is not renewed, or if there is a customer abuse, you would still want to invoice to the customer. So you would still need a provision where you can run an invoicing process to bill the customer. So those kind of processes are there. And these are just reports and all. Then there's an overview, how you manage an activity management, dispatch consoles, review and scheduling. Then there's a mobile app also for OFSC. Although it's not a pure mobile app, basically it fits your this the screen into a mobile screen. It's not actually
Mhm.
a fully fledged mobile app, I would say, but it works. There's no issue on that. And then what are the different configurations which you do in OFSC, and then how you integrate where we use those APIs. So in our case, what we do is like we have a concept called orchestrations in JD Edwards. So whenever there's an API, for example, part order plugin from OFSC, we call that orchestration, which can directly create a sales order and purchase order in JD Edwards, because that's our main ERP. So that initiation is from field service engineer from his mobile app in field service cloud, where he can request for a part, and then it basically uses that plugin, and in the background it uses that orchestrations which is used internally to create a sales order, purchase order. Now this concept of orchestration is basically, you can say, it's an RPA tool. Like if I am a person, if I am back office guy and creating a sales and a purchase order manually using in JD Edwards, using some application or screen, or in Fusion Cloud, so I need to follow a process. I need to go to a menu in JD Edwards and then refer to that specific application where I can create a sales order and purchase order. So that process is basically an automated RPA process, which we called as an orchestration in JD. So it actually does automatically. Then there is a, all the tags are there, and then data inputs are there, which has to be proper to work it seamless. And then there are some reportings in OFSC. And so what I understand, Midul, is basically these, what I'm trying to explain or train you, is not directly related. So I might need to do some kind of an homework in terms of uh, how, I mean, how well you can integrate this WAM with an OFSC system. Not all, you might not need all the functionalities. And if you can just brief me about what is the idea. I mean, you might not started the implementation, but there must be some plan in place, what exactly, why your organization has selected WAM, and why they want to use an OFSC, for what purpose. Then I would be able to explain better.
So it's like what to say. So our organization is a gas company, so it has too many assets, right? The
Yeah.
For example, gas lines, the meter, valves, regulator station,
Okay.
all the equipment. So it has lots of assets. So all these assets need to be maintained, tracked, frequently inspected. um so so all this as I mean, every business has its own purpose. Like for example, if we take a what to say for example, if it's a AC repairing company, so in their system the product is the AC, it has parts, it needs to be serviced, need to check with the customer whether they are doing the uh, annual, I mean periodic services, the maintenance, we need to check the warranty. So whenever there is a inspection, for example, it creates a work order, and
Yeah.
work order needs to be dispatched. So it's not like the utility business is so what to say, high in high volume. So there could be 5,000, 6,000 tickets per day technicians will be working. So all these tickets will be coming to, so this asset management system doesn't have a way to schedule and optimize these appointments.
Right.
So all these are appointments, so it will come to the field service system. These work orders will come to field service system. So the field service
Right.
system manages these work orders, identify the technicians based on their skill, identify their region of work, the area, and the due date, the SLA, based on the priority. So based on all these parameters, the field service system generates an appointment. Sometimes the user can book an appointment if it is a new connection, right? If it's a new connection, the customer is calling and I need a new connection, then that order gets priority. It's not an emergency, but it's priority, and it's a competitive what to say, business. So they will give
Yeah.
the same day appointment. So the technicians need to be like reserved for some time kind of work. So they have the shift. They also work for, like for example, 8 to 5. Some works like in the mid and in the night shift. So based on that, their calendar, their work assignment, I'm sorry, the work schedule, these work orders need
Yeah.
to be assigned to the technicians, meeting the highest resource utilization. So that is the purpose of this field service system. So once this work is complete, the order will be completed in the by the field technician who was assigned with this job, and the data he captured from the field will go back to the asset system. So asset system is
Mm.
just an example. In the field service world, there can be so many systems integrated, like CRM systems, like when in case of a
Right.
customer request, outage system. If there is an outage, um,
Mm.
emergency crew need to be dispatched immediately, and if it
Mm.
needs any additional work, the crew needs to create, they should be able to create a work order from that system, or from the mobile, so that,
Yeah, that is possible. That is
right,
possible.
yeah, yeah. So those are the high level of the business.
Okay, got it. And in any scenarios, like when the data would be when they have performed, like the field service engineers, when they have performed those maintenances or repair activities, then
Hmm.
it has to come back to your WAM system.
Yep.
And is there any billing process involved? I mean, are those calls billable? How they track
Sometimes,
the billing process?
sometimes yes, but I don't know if mostly yes, because sometimes there are contractors involved. So the employees, anyways, they are billed within the company, but the contractors,
Mm.
they submit their times separately based on the job they are performing, right? Based on
Mhm.
the lunchtime, the wrench time
Right.
is called, where they're working on the machines, and the
Mm.
travel time. So based on all these parameters, they pay respectively. If they're just standing by, their pay is different. If they are doing the actual work, they get different pay. So the main technician and the people who are coming to assist, they are all having different kind of pay. So there are pay codes. So what this technician is doing, he will assign a pay code. So based on that pay code, asset system will store all this data. Okay, this job was worked by this crew. This crew had five members. Each five members has a timesheet, and in the timesheet, from what time to what time, what are the code that their work was uh, performed, and based on that,
Mm.
maximum calculates how much is the pay. So I'm sorry, I meant by maximum I meant WAM. um,
Yeah.
so then it will be sent to some other system like CCNB and all for the billing.
Yeah, yeah. Got it, got it. So there has to be integration there. But in
Yeah.
terms of those timesheets and the rates, like for employees and for subcontractors, so those are maintained in this WAM system, right? Not in the, not expect, because
Um,
I don't think so. There, those rates are they can be maintained in this field service cloud. It has to
Ah,
be
yeah,
maintained
obviously,
somewhere.
yeah.
Yes.
Right, right.
Yeah.
It will be in the CCNB system or workforce, or maybe in the workforce or PeopleSoft somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. So are you using some kind of an HR management system, PeopleSoft or Siebel or some?
No, no. I don't know about that. I'm only I'm only focusing on the field service. So since you asked about
Okay.
the other,
No, 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 got it.
yeah.
Because that definitely gives a perspective. So that, so they must be having, like, this one aspect is they would be having all those timesheet maintenances and rates somewhere
Mm,
in the asset management system, and also they must be having some other system where they would be billing. And now that billing can be a subcontracted job, or your company finance team might be doing, but they might be using some other system to manage all those billings. So that,
yep.
because billings again cannot be managed in field service. Field service is mostly about, like in your scenarios, like if we are doing this bulk maintenances or emergency maintenances, how well you can dispatch all those field service engineers based on their skill set, availability, and then availability, and then the regions where they are placed, how fast they can reach that location, and in terms of how much they have worked. So there has to be a way where you can capture in field service cloud how much labor hours or how much travel hours they have spent to reach that location or worked at that customer site location. And then those have to be tracked and then basically integrated with that timesheet management system.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do have this auto scheduling is not actually part of the standard, but we have actually developed a function called auto scheduling. If you, I'm just trying to give an overview, because this is, I will not directly jump into the first topic and start explaining. So so the more we discuss, I will
Mm,
get to know what is the background, and then we'll
okay.
take it formally topic wise, maybe from tomorrow. So in
Yep.
terms of, like, in our system is, from a business process, there is a corrective maintenance which can be which can be termed as an emergency. Not all
Mhm.
the corrective maintenance calls are emergency. There is a
Yep.
different priority, like based on that SLA, 3 hours SLA, 4 hours SLA, 6 hours SLA. On that SLA basis, the based on the customer contracts and that SLA, it is actually decided whether it has to be an emergency call, high priority, medium priority, or low priority. That is a corrective maintenance or emergency, you can say. Now we do have this preventive maintenance. Like, what is
Hmm.
generally done is we create 3 months in advance all the maintenance of the machines, whether it's a gas
Right, right.
machine or whatever is the case. So we generate a preventive maintenance schedule 3 months in advance. Just assume there are 1000 machines which needs those preventive maintenance, and there has to, it basically what it does, it generates a schedule. Like you mentioned, there is a
Mm,
due date, and then there is a customer there, then there is a model work order in the background. It basically gives you a full landscape of this next 3 months, what all machines have to be planned. Okay, so based on that due date, and it
yeah.
generates in bulk. Just assume that it generated 1000 preventive maintenance work orders in bulk. And now in
Mm,
our system, what we do is, now I think that's your business requirement as well. In our
yep.
system, what we do, we have generated those 1000 uh, preventive maintenance work orders in JD Edwards, but how to send them or dispatch it to OFSC. So what
Hmm.
we have done is, like, when we create a service call and a corrective service call and a work order, and when we dispatch it one by one, there's an there's an option where you can automatically dispatch that work order to field service cloud, or back office can do a manual button click and then they can send that service work order to OFSC. But in case of PMs, if the 1000 PM work order, preventive maintenance work orders are generated, it's a humongous task to send it manually one by one. Not possible.
Mm,
So what we have done is this send to field service cloud or send to OFSC, what we call is, we have actually automated that process. We have put that in scheduler. The moment those 1000 PM calls are generated, we have put it in scheduler. It overnightly it sends all the 1,000 PM service work orders to field service cloud. Now it is not just about sending. Then in the background, it has to check, uh, and in especially in PM cases, what happens is there is basically a good business process. Like all these install base equipments or assets, we also maintain a preferred technician. For example, those 1,000 is divided into five different regions, like 200 machines in region 1, 200 region 2, 3, 4, and so on. So this 200 machines, if it is in region 1, and that region 1 is serviced by, for example, five technicians, then in that install base or asset, we maintain that preferred technician. Why?
So
And what?
one
Yeah,
second.
go on.
So you're saying in the JD Edwards is an ERP system, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So the ERP system creates the preventive maintenance or the corrective maintenance orders, and also
Correct,
it maintains the technicians.
correct, correct.
Okay,
It
okay.
maintains the technicians, but basic, not the technician skill sets, workday calendars,
Hmm.
quota availability, not those. Those are purely
Hmm.
maintained in the field service cloud. But since since both the systems have to be inline, for example, if I am a field service engineer uh, in and set up in the field service cloud, but it is a prerequisite. I have to be set up as an employee address book in JD Edwards system also, just for data synchronization. That's why it was, because if I am not set up for, in your case, if you are getting all those preventive calls done by your engineers or technicians, they have to be set up in field service cloud. That is mandatory for sure.
Hmm.
And then when the data is flowing back from field service cloud, for example in WM, then they have to be set up. Then how you will tally their timesheets and all those things. So that's why it is important from a data synchronization point between two systems or three systems. So the setups are there. So not only we like we basically, if in our case J Edwards is a master ERP where we maintain those technician address numbers, we also maintain these customer numbers, then these customer site locations. Everything is maintained in JD Edwards, and also it is field service cloud never acts as a master ERP or a master configuration setup. Only it is limited to, it has to manage the field service engineers effectively. So all the data sets or configurations around field service engineers have to be set up in Oracle Field Service Cloud, and all the rest have to be set up in your ERP, WAM, JD Word, Field Service, whatever.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
So coming back to, like, in this 200 preventive maintenance calls, five served by five technicians. So when it basically it
Kumar,
is then
can I ask one question? So you mentioned about Workday, right? So
yeah.
so is the employee details being stored in Workday and being sent to the ERP?
No, no, not that Workday. No, don't get confused. So Workday, I didn't mean that Workday as a software. I meant
Hmm.
as a Workday as a calendar. So
Ah,
basically, my holiday and leave day. For example, I work
shift.
from Monday to Friday shift. Basically, Saturday, Sunday is
Hmm.
my holiday. Then and then there is a exceptional holidays, like in between. There's a holiday for Eid. There's a holiday for Holi. So all those holidays, working days, and leaves and non-working days have to be defined somewhere.
Hmm.
So that
Oh,
definition in our case we do in JD Edwards, which we called as a workday calendar.
got. I mean, yeah. Why I got confused? We have the same functionality being done by Workday.
Okay, yeah, yeah. And workday is basically, yeah, workday is a better, I would say, an option. But yeah, it comes with its own license and costing. But yeah, if you have integration with a workday, then that's the best way to do it.
Okay, so the customer
And
details, technician details, their calendar will be stored in ERP, and you're saying like the field service need to get that information. The field
correct,
technician, actually, the ERP system should feed the technician details and the order details to the field service system.
correct. Correct, correct.
Mm.
And field service, and then there's a concept, this topic like auto scheduling. Now, this how auto scheduling has all those parameters set in, seeing the working day for a field service engineer,
Mm.
skill set, which region he belongs to. So those, just an example which I gave, those 200 PM calls, if it has to be allocated between those five technicians who belongs to region one, it will get allocated to automatically to those five technicians. And for example, if I am the technician one and I got, for example, 30 PM calls which I have to service tomorrow, so the moment I log in into field service cloud, whether mobile app or via back office, I could see there are 30 PM calls which have been assigned to me in my region to do that servicing. So it is automatically assigned. So this auto scheduling feature and preferred technician which I mentioned will help you to directly assign to those field service engineers based on their availability, skill set, capacity, quota if it is set, and then it gets allocated to them, and then they can do the servicing. For example, if I have to do 30 PM calls on that day, tomorrow 26th of
Mm.
June, I will open up, I will visit that customer site, I will do all those maintenance of those 30 service machines, and then I will note down the travel times, labor hours, how much hours I worked on each of that machine. And obviously he cannot work multiple machines at a time. He will first go to the customer location one, start working on the machine one, and machine one, whatever he has worked upon, for example labor hours or some spare parts which he has consumed, everything he has to capture. And where he can capture all these informations, that's everything he will have to capture in that field service cloud, where we have those screens available. So not only in terms of capturing the labor times, travel times, he can also capture the spare parts. He can take the customer signature that he has completed his job. He can do a lot of activities from a field service cloud, which we can see.
Okay.
That will basically help him in capturing all those information. And when he has done his job, after he has taken the signature from the customer, then he can basically close that PM call. And when he closes that PM call, in our case, all the information in terms of hours or spare parts consumed, all information flows back from the field service cloud to JD Edwards. Mostly in PM calls, I would say 70 to 80% are non-billable.
Mm.
Few can be billable depending on if customer said no, there's a high spare cost and it's okay, I will pay for it, then those PM calls gets billed for the customer revenue. Now, there is no, in our scenario there is no timesheet angle and there's no rates defined, but concepts remain the same. Even if there is no timesheet, but still there are rates, like when he is performing a, like he has worked spent 3 hours, then to calculate the amount or billing, you still need a price for it. And if he has utilized a spare part, then spare part pricing have to be maintained somewhere. So all those labor pricing and spare parts pricing have to be maintained in the JD Edwards ERP system. And he just, field service engineer just captures the quantity, which part he used, and then his labor times. But when it comes back to JD Edwards, then there is a billing engine which is run in the JD Edwards, just similar to your timesheet and rate cards. Then it generates the, calculates the final amount. Then there's a tax angle. Depending on if it's a US Canada, it is vertex. For European regions, there is a VAT. For India, there is a GST. So depending on the region, country, it calculates the your amount with taxes, and then you run the invoicing process to actually generate an invoice and send that invoice to the customer. So this is basically a high level flow. Now this is basically a PM process, how it typically look like. In your case, there's a difference there because uh, whatever hours he has, the field service engineer has worked in the field service cloud, when it has to come into the WAM system, then it has to tally, or that it has to be stored in that WAM system, and then basically look up all those rates which are set up in the WAM system, and then do the, or basically do some pre-calculation before sending to your another system for billing. That's how I am looking from your business perspective. Now, basically, you would be looking, I think the field service cloud would be an appropriate choice for managing this. And in terms of just another question which you asked, for example, if these are normal routine preventive maintenance cycles or preventive maintenance process, what if I need to create an ad hoc emergency call directly
Mhm.
from that field service system? So in our case, what we have done, we have they can there are two options there. If you, in our case, we do create a service case and then create a service work order, and then there's an option in field service cloud where you can directly create an activity or a work order, which we called as an ad hoc. He does not have to be dependent on the back office, because in our case, back office creates that service calls in JD and then service work orders, and then it dispatches to the field service cloud and then allocate, sometimes not always auto scheduling, then manually allocate that, okay, this call have to be assigned to that technician one, then back office does that manually. And when only when a back office allocates that work order to that technician one, that technician can see in his mobile app, okay, this has been assigned. But this will not work definitely in an emergency kind of a scenario where there's a gas leakage and technician has rushed to the nearest customer site. So what he'll have to do is, from this process or recording perspective, he can directly create an activity or service work order in field service cloud, and then pick up all those, what is the customer side serials, install or install base or in asset in your case, and then go to that site, do those firefighting, fix whatever it needs to do, fix, and then capture all those informations and close that service call or an activity in field service cloud. So it will work.
Okay, so so if the field technician, if identifies something emergency, he calls to the back office and they create an ad hoc work order on and send to the field.
That is one option. That is, I would not say that is an emergency scenario.
Mm.
In emergency, in your case, field service engineer can create directly an activity or a service work order in field service.
From where, which application they use, the mobile application or the
Mobile
okay, okay.
mobile application only. They can very well, they can create an activity. Then there's called an internal activity, external activity. All those provisions are there.
So yeah, okay. So got couple of questions. So I have been hearing about the Fusion Cloud, the
Yes.
JD Edwards, and the Field Service Cloud.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how are these things related? So everything like the what is the new? It's a Fusion Cloud, right? The Fusion Cloud
Yeah. Fusion.
is kind of um, consolidate everything, like it contains everything that field service cloud, or is it separate entities? My question is like, what if I mean, I understand how the ERP and field service, which both are the Oracle products. What if
Correct.
a different product we need to integrate? How can that be? And even with this integration, is everything in the same cloud or the database? So can you address those questions?
Yeah, yeah. So it actually depends. That's a good question. So basically, in our case, what we have done, I will just show you. So this is, let me see. We can see. So in our case, I'm just displaying you the JD Edwards. So this is basically an
Hmm.
Oracle JD Edwards where there is a menu. Let me refresh. This is basically a non-production environment. This JDE, which we call this is Oracle JDE, where we have different menus like the service management where I can create a case. Then there's a work order management where I can inquire a work order. I can create a service work order from that case. And then there's a contract management where you can create a contract. Then there's an install base or equipments or assets which you can create and track those assets. Now, in terms of this Oracle JD Edwards and this Field Service Cloud. Both are Oracle products. Both have pre-built APIs, integrations via OIC, integrations via SOA. middleware. So both it is there. It is, I would say now it is seamless. Earlier, when this field service cloud was launched, we had lot of troubles. We had lot of learnings integrating them both inbound and outbound. Now it is seamless. So this is one aspect how you can integrate JD Edwards with field service cloud. Second, field service cloud. And second aspect is this the all the these
Sorry,
plugins which I'm
Kumar,
mentioning is.
Kumar, could you show me that once again? I missed that part. Could you? I'm really, really sorry.
Yeah. So this, I will try to explain you three things. First is JD Edwards and Field Service Cloud, how they are integrated. I mean, just
Mm,
high level, not those technical stuffs. And then
sure.
second, Fusion Cloud and Field Service Cloud, and then a third party like the help desk app which I talked about, a third party
Mhm.
to this field service cloud. So first is basically JD Edwards and this field service cloud. So this JD Edwards is not a cloud product. This had still been an on premise. It has not moved to
Okay.
cloud, and because Oracle did not wanted it to move it to cloud, that's where they introduced this Fusion Cloud ERP. So this is on premise, and then obviously field service cloud is on cloud. So now we do not have standard plugins or integrations available between Edwards and field service cloud. We had to do customizations both inbound and outbound to integrate. Like for example, we have in this service management, case management, where we create cases, different types of cases we have. Then we have work order management, where we can create a service work order standalone. PMs is standalone without case. When we create a corrective work order from cases, then we have contract management, where we maintain all those contracts, service packages, SLA informations. Equipment management, where we maintain all those install base or assets, company wise, country wise, those we maintain. Now this integration between JD Edwards to field service cloud is all custom pre-built by us, inbound, outbound, sending to OFSC, auto scheduling, sending in bulk from JD Edwards to Field Service Cloud, and then closure from Field Service Cloud to JD Edwards. So this is all custom bit. Now, in the second aspect is this Fusion Cloud ERP, which is on cloud, and then Field Service Cloud is also on cloud. Now they have this. They We do not have to customize it actually. You have pre-built plugins available where when you create a service call in Fusion Cloud ERP, you can directly use that plugin to basically send it to Field Service Cloud. And similarly for closure, and then there are lots of pre-built in plugins are available, which I talked about, these ones, like where you can perform all these functionalities depending on their business requirement. So both are again on Oracle, and it is seamless integration. Now, in terms of a third party, what we have done is basically we have created a web app. So it basically it's built on a Figma thing. And how we have managed it is, since the database is still JD Edwards. So what we have done is we have actually developed some database views. So we have
Mhm.
actually created some database views for equipments. We have created database views for customers, sites, and what we do is, for example, from this is basically a third party. It's no longer a JD Edwards ERP. It is no longer a Fusion Cloud ERP. It is basically a third party. So this third party, if I want to create a corrective case, okay, and then I want to search a serial, or in your case it's an asset. So when I'm searching this serial, what this system is doing is, it's basically in the background uses a database view for the equipment master or asset master, refers to this JD Edwards. For example, this serial belongs to a US company. It searches for that serial. For example, if I search, you will see this belongs to a US company. It searches for that serial, and that search is based on that database view. And then we uses Microsoft Azure in the also in the background for integrations. And then we can, similar to JD Edwards, when we create a case and a service work order and send it to OFSC. Similar way, we are also creating a case and a service work order from this third party app and sending it to OFSC. Now, the Database, we are using JD Edwards. We can, but we are using those DB views, and we are, from a payload perspective, we are managing and sending it to OFSC. We have done all those one-to-one mapping. So, for example, just to give you a perspective, there are 200 fields, values which have to be mapped from this help desk app to field service cloud. Now, why
Mm.
200 fields? Because there are customer information, there are site information, there's latitude, longitude, there is equipment information, there is service history which we are sending. So there are a lot of parameters which we have to send it to OFSC. Not all the parameters are utilized, and the most important is the SLA. So like this help desk app also calculates the SLA, service level agreements, like it has to be done in 3 hours, 4 hours, 7 hours. Well, like for example, if it's a 3 hours SLA, then it has to be, if the call is open 9 a.m. today, then it has to be serviced within 3 hours, like by 12 noon. So all those SLA also get sent from here to this thing. So it's not necessarily that there's a limitation that you have to use. Just to give you a perspective, that you have to use JD Edwards or Fusion Cloud or any other third party. You can very well integrate, and this is basically an example. This is a project which we are currently working. It's not live yet.
Mhm.
So this integration is basically from a third party to the field service cloud. And the difference is why we have developed this when we already had this JD Edwards, because JD Edwards has its own limitations, because it does, I would not say limitation, but how it has been designed. So any ERP system, when it is designed, it does a lot of validations in the background. It
Yeah.
does lots of checks there. So there is some slowness. So when we are trying to create a case, service call, a service work order, for example, it takes some around 2 minutes to create a case, service work order, and send it to FSC. Now, in this case, Helpdesk app, we have minimized all those validations. We have managed it globally. Uh, we have done some precursory check, prerequisite. And then we are not uh, using applications to create those service calls and service work orders. We are directly inserting into the database. So that way, the performance is very fast. Now, in terms
Mm.
of when I create a case and a service work order from this app, it takes 3 seconds,
Okay.
and it also sends to OFSC field service cloud instantly in real time. And not only it sends, create case, service work order, sends to OFSC in 3 seconds, but it also send, because since our JD Edwards is a base ERP, we it also creates a case and a service work order in JD Edwards as well. So all those functionalities are done within second. 3 seconds, I may be too much boasting, but at least you can assume 10 seconds, 12 seconds max it takes to do all those functionalities, or I mean the creation perspective. But JD Edwards will not do that, because it does a lot of validations in the background. So there's no limit in terms of which system you can integrate. But the only advantage what you will get is, like, if you are integrating
Faster
this
response.
Fusion Cloud ERP to uh, uh, Oracle Field Service Cloud, you have OICs there, you have pre-built plugins there, so life gets simpler. Life is simpler,
Right.
I would say. And then, since this WM is also an Oracle product, field services is also an Oracle product, they must be having the standard plugins available. Not exact one-to-one match, but they still be having those plugins which you can utilize to integrate.
Got it. So you mentioned about the middleware, right? So between the WAM and OFC or JD and
Yeah.
WAM.
Yeah.
So, um, is it kind of like WebMothers or MuleSoft, something like that, or is it a
Yeah, something like that. Because what happens is, why we need those middleware. So in our case, what we do is basically, let me show you.
is it third party or Oracle?
No, it's again an Oracle product. It's again an
Okay.
Oracle product. So what we do is basically, like in terms of JD Edwards, when we are creating a case or a service work order in JD, and it is
Mm,
not directly sent to FSC. It is basically, there are, like, just assume there are 200 field mappings. There are
mm,
and then what this Oracle SOA does is basically, uh, this field service cloud, the OFSC, this OFSC cannot directly consume these all those 200 tags from JD Edwards or from Fusion Cloud. It
Hmm.
needs a middleware to through which it can talk to.
Transact the
And
data because there are
yeah,
multi
transact that data.
difference. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And now this was basically earlier we were using this SOA. Now this has been replaced by OIC, which is obviously a cloud based and more robust. So this is the now the change. But whether it is OIC or SOA, that it acts as a middleware integration because OFSC cannot talk directly to this. And in our case, this helpdesk app, we will just rename this as helpdesk app. We have still have the same thing, and we are not using Oracle. We are using Azure.
Okay.
So this is the difference.
Sure. Okay.
And Azure is a Microsoft product, right?
Microsoft. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, so you are using. Sorry, can you come the last part? I don't understand why you using Azure.
Yeah, I can what I can do. I mean, not that sound on the technical aspect. What
No, no,
I
that's
can
fine.
do is,
But
yeah, I will
just
get
what
you.
you just said.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, why I'm confused? Like you already are using the Oracle products, and it's not in the Oracle cloud, but why Azure cloud came into picture there?
Because two reasons I would say. One reason is that this is high level. This is a Microsoft project, and when it is there are a
Okay,
lot of Azure components involved in developing this. So it was designed in Figma, and then we they are all our Azure architects who are designing this.
got it.
That's why we chose Azure, because if we have chosen Oracle, then we'll have to base it on either JD Edwards, and we have a roadmap to move it to Cloud ERP, but Cloud ERP is
Mm.
actually not that stable, maybe 5 years down the line. So we had two options. We had two pathways. First is either first migrate from JD Edwards to Cloud ERP, and and or have an interim solution using some other I mean, say technology, and then develop a standalone app through which you can transact to OFSC. So we chosen this interim path, but this can be an interim also, and then down the line 5 years, this will basically get replaced by Cloud ERP. This one when it is
Got
stable. Currently, it is not stable. This is Cloud
okay,
ERP. You will have this OIC. So you will have this Oracle Cloud ERP, you will have OIC, you have OFSC. So everything will be seamless. This is, I mean, this is an expectation from any business who would be in service line of business to use Cloud ERP. Cloud ERP has its own advantages, disadvantages as well, but yeah,
mm,
it's getting stabilized. But 5 years down the line, from our business perspective, this is the only future. And why we had to do, since we cannot wait for 5 years to have this happen, so that's why we developed this an interim help desk app via Azure Architects and Figma, and then we developed it, try to use all those Microsoft functionalities, and then send it to OFSC.
got it.
But
Okay,
we still we don't use OIC also, but we have this has ruled out SOA, so we are not actually using no SOA, and OIC is used, but we still have to maintain the data, like the case and service work order which is created from this app has to be created back in JD also. So when it has to be created back in JD, we are using this orchestration, RPA basically.
okay. Orchestration.
It's an interesting guy. I mean, high level, it's an RPA tool. It does an automation for you. For example, yeah, like if I have to create a case from a third party app, and if I am the orchestration on an RPA, so what it does, it basically it clicks here, clicks on add, put that data components there, and then create a case. So it's all done by
Mm,
that orchestration.
got it. Okay, it's an
Okay,
automation, so just
yeah, yeah, it's basically
imitate what user will do.
Exactly. And what we have done, we have actually gone against the ERP standard ERP model. Now we are using orchestration, just to go back to that. So what we have done here is, when we are using this orchestration, we are not using those applications which I showed you, then click on add those data components. We are basically doing a direct table insert. Table is basically, it's a terminology, like in the database we have, like in the service module we have different, it's all table structure, just like SAP system. JD Edwards also maintains a table. Now there's a table called F1755 for case master, then there's a table for service work order. So we are
Oh,
actually using this orchestration or RPA tool to directly insert in those tables. And why we are doing that direct insert in the table? Because it is very fast. If we had been using those RPA tools from a front end application, like navigate to the menu, click on add, do all those validations, then create a case, create a service work order, that's where it takes time. And when you are doing a direct insert into that, directly into the table, it is much faster.
got it. Okay.
And this we call as a table. I mean, I might be using very frequently. So for example, if it basically, it stores the record, that's 1755, this is the case master. And if I, you see this kind of a slowness, this kind of slowness
Yeah.
not there. ARP is this kind of slow, but in this, when you are creating from this app help third party, this is not there. And what we also have is, like, we have this third party integrations also, like we have different banks across. Like for example, there's an issue with the machine. Let me search it differently. So, for example, if I have a ATM machine installed in ICICI branch, Mumbai branch, and the Mumbai, and then ICICI branch do not want to call the our company call center to create a service call. What they can do, they basically sends an email to a generic email ID of our organization, and it directly creates a service call for them. That we call as an email integration.
Got it. Got
And
it.
then
Yeah.
there's a, and yeah, and then there's called as a, like some, like you companies, like country like UK in our organization, they use those telephony also. For example, customer calls on their back office team, and from that telephonic information, back office directly creates a case service call manually in JD Edwards. So that provision is also there.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. So, with the benefits of the time, I think we are almost
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
winding up. So,
Yeah.
would you be sharing any architectural diagram or that sort? How?
I will try to. So, uh, like uh, like I am not that too technical, but I can still share with you this help desk, this how we have designed, because that would be, because you would not be
Uh,
keen in how we have integrated JD Edwards with OFSC or Fusion Cloud with OFSC. You would might be interested in how we have integrated this third party with the OFSC. So that diagram I will be having. I can share with you. That will give you a reference. But this third party is not an Oracle, but if you are using Oracle WAM, then life would be easier, I would say.
yeah.
But
It's
that
a
diagram will definitely give you an idea. Yeah.
sure. 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 Okay.